Alright, I know it's been a while since I've done a YouTube video. Right now I got a new computer. I got the MacBook Pro, so it's going to be easier for me to do videos. Let's get this one going. Basically, I mean, Halloween is tomorrow, and when I think as a wrestling fan, what do you think of when it comes to Halloween? You have to be thinking about WCW Halloween Havoc. Now, this is a VHS copy. I got this a couple years ago, actually a long time ago, for my birthday one year, um, before DVDs. So this is the cover. This is going all the way back to 1995. So we're going to look back at this pay per view. Now you can see this pay per view on the WWE Network. That's one of the good things about the network is you could relive all the past pay per views, WCW, ECW, and of course WWE. So if you're not familiar with Halloween Havoc, again that was a WCW pay per view. Started back in 1989 and ran all the way to about I think the last one was 2000. What's cool about the pay per view is, again, it had the Halloween theme, so the Halloween spirit, especially as a kid, growing up. So this is the event that happened in 1995. So this is the side cover, and then you got Hulk Hogan you got the Giant on the back. Again, this is back in the day when there was. Should be in a museum, I know. So let's review this one. Let's look back at WCW in 1995. WCW was starting to get momentum back then. They were starting to, get. I guess they launched Nitro about a month earlier, so they were really trying to get, and they got, Hulk Hogan was there for a year and a half. Their main goal was to get like established stars, like Macho Man Randy Savage, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, um, guys that have been, that were WCW, that were once top stars in WWE. That was the direction they were going in for WWE at the time. They had the whole new generation slogan, and they were pushing guys like Shawn Michaels, Razor Ramon, and Diesel on their shows. So again, let's look at 1995. Okay, the main event. This was billed as the double, like a double match: man versus man, and then machine versus machine. Hulk Hogan versus the Giant, and this is the event where they had the monster truck thing between the Giant and Hulk Hogan on top of the roof wherever this was taking place. I have some information on here, and this is one of the event when Giant supposedly fell off the roof and then came back at the end of the night to face Hulk Hogan in the main event. And this is when Hulk Hogan was like going to kind of to the dark side. He was feuding with the Dungeon of Doom, and he comes out in all black, and it's maybe the precursor of Hollywood Hulk Hogan. But he comes in not in the traditional yellow, red and yellow. He came in black. And in the big feud with the early Giant or early Big Show, you can see how he started. If you're a fan of the Big Show, was pretty much his first. I actually think this was his first pay per view. And let's run down the card real quick. So we have the opening match is for the TV title, Johnny B. Bad versus Diamond Dallas Page. I have to say, like, if you watch a lot of those early the WCW pay-per-views during that time period, I would say in like 94, 95, Johnny B. Bad was really the match starter. Like, he was in a lot of the opening matches, and it was a pretty good opener. They had a good feud going on. I think they were feuding over on the Diamond Doll or with Kimberly. Really good match, good opener. I mean, it's unfortunate Johnny B. Bad. I think Mark Mira's character. I think he's most remembered for Johnny B. Bad. When he went to WWE, he changed they renamed him the Wild Man Mark Mira, and then Marvelous Mark Miro. I don't think he ever caught on, and I think he's best known for Johnny B. Bad. And Diamond Dallas Page went on to become one of the top stars in WCW, especially around that 97, 98. The feud with the NWO. That's when he became like one of the top guys. And look at him now with DDP Yoga. Next match was so the Randy Savage and Lex Luger were feuding at the time because Luger came back on the first Nitro, and like Savage didn't really trust Luger's motives and all that. So they were going to do a match, but instead of having them fight one on one, each one of them had to win a match in order to fight each other. So Randy Savage had to fight Zodiac. If you don't know who Zodiac is, it's Brutus the Barber Beefcake. He's had probably like a million gimmicks in WCW. He started as Brother Brudai, and then he was the Butcher, and then he was the Man with No Name, and then he was the Booty Man, and then I think then he was the Zodiac for a little bit, and then he was I think the last was the Disciple. So he went through a lot of character changes. We all know him as Bruce the Barber Beefcake. That was probably the most successful gimmick he's had. So Randy Savage defeats the Zodiac. Randy Savage has like kind of like a bandage on his arm, so he's selling some injury. Next one is Road Warrior Hawk against Kurosawa. Probably pronounced his name wrong. So it looks like Hawk just doesn't. He's not with Animal. He's doing some solo. This time around. I think at the time Animal was out with an injury, perhaps. So Hawk was on his own. So Hawk had like these like little stints in WCW at the time. Like in '93, he teamed with Sting against the Nasty Boys at Starrcade '93. So here it's a one-on-one match. And then he would later come back and he would reunite with Animal for the Road Warriors in '96 for a couple of months in WCW, and they would feud with like the Steiners, Hall and Heat, and Sting and Luger. And that was just a brief, and then they went back to WWE for WrestleMania 13, and they were there for like the next like 2 years or 2 or 3 years, and then kind of faded away, and then Hawk passed away, unfortunately. We have Sabu. Now this is a shocker. Sabu is actually in WCW against Mr. JL. If you don't know who Mr. JL is, it's Jerry Lynn under a mask. So Sabu, had a brief stint in WCW. I guess things didn't work out because he would go back to ECW. Next match we have Lex Luger against Meng. This was more of a competitive match. Meng actually I think like dominated most of the match, but Lex Luger prevails, so he would go on to face Macho Man Randy Savage later in that night. With Lex Luger, I think he's more. I think he's. You look at his success in his career. '93 with the whole Lex Express. I think that was the top of because he was like probably like the number one babyface. But I think he's probably best known for WCW, the Total Package. Then we have probably the best match of the night: Sting and Ric Flair against Arn Anderson and Brian Pillman. So at the time, shockingly, Ric Flair and Arn Anderson were in this big feud. They fought each other at the previous pay-per-view Fall Brawl. So they were in this big feud against each other. And Ric Flair asks Sting to be his tag team partner. And at first, we have a couple weeks where Sting does not trust Ric Flair and says, I don't know, didn't want to be his partner. But finally, he said, okay, I'll be your partner. Earlier in the night, they said that Ric Flair was jumped by Arn Anderson and Brian Pillman. So Sting has to take on the match by himself. Classic wrestling. Something's up. So they go in the match. Sting's dominating, and then Sting's, they start double teaming Sting. Sting goes until, like, I guess, gets beat up, and then Ric Flair comes down the aisle. He has a bandage wrapped around his head. He's goes on the apron. He sticks his hand out, wants to get to the tag. Again, they're beating Sting. It's classic tag team wrestling. He's about to get the tag. He doesn't get the tag. Finally, Sting fights everybody off. He tags in Ric Flair. Ric Flair goes off the ropes, attacks Sting, turns on him. The whole purpose, they were reforming the Four Horsemen. Originally, it was going to be Flair, Arn Anderson, Brian Pillman, and Chris Benoit. We all know what happens with Brian Pillman. He does this angle and somehow gets out of WCW and goes to WWE. Unfortunately, he passes away before he can really get like going in WWE. And especially he had an injury too. So he was, couldn't wrestle that much. But that was the big plan. We formed the NWO. We formed the Four Horsemen, And I think a lot of people was Sting and Ric Flair again. The feud, they would go on the next pay per view, World War III, and have a 1-on-1 match. I mean, something you've seen before at that time, but they always have good chemistry, Sting and Ric Flair. Next match, we would have the sumo monster truck match, which was ridiculous. You have to see this on the WWE Network. And then Randy Savage versus Lex Luger. It was only like a 5-minute match. I think Randy Savage won. And then you had the main event, Hulk Hogan against the Giant. And then this is where we're at the ending where Jimmy Hart turns on Hulk Hogan, the whole big run in. The Giant wins by disqualification. Hulk Hogan doesn't realize that Jimmy Hart put in the contract that if Hogan lost by disqualification, he would lose the belt. So I think this was a way to get the belt off Hulk Hogan without having him lose. And then the way it ended, like the Yeti came down, Luger comes down, turns on Savage, and we find out that he's with the Dungeon of Doom. And then this leads, makes you want to watch Nitro the next day because it kind of ends on a kind of a cliffhanger, the way pay-per-views are supposed to end. So it's a good, like, I don't know, if you want to look back at, WCW back in that era, before NWO, this was a couple months before the debut of the NWO, to see how things are. I mean, it's a little cartoonish. For 1995, I guess it would work. It works well for the Hulk Hogan character because the way the cartoonish character, it wasn't until 96 when they started to get really edgier with the NWO. And then the next month, they did World War III with the 3 rings, and Savage would win the title. Pretty good. So again, I would really suggest if you're in the Halloween spirit, especially tonight or tomorrow, and you want to watch some old WCW pay-per-views, definitely check out the 1995 Halloween Havoc. There's nowhere to hide. Now tonight is Hell in the Cell. I just want to give my brief thoughts of that pay-per-view. First off, we know Seth Rollins is not going to win the title tonight. We know that. That's going to be predictable. To see how he's going to lose, if Triple H is going to come out and cost the match for him, who knows? We know his path is not for the title. His path is he's leading up to a match with Triple H at WrestleMania. Kevin Owens, on the other hand, I don't think they're going to take the title off him so soon. I don't know where his path to WrestleMania is going to be. I'm assuming if Finn Balor is back by, I don't know how his injury is. I don't know how long he's going to be out. But perhaps that could be a main event at WrestleMania for the Universal title. I'm not too sure. But I do predict that Kevin Owens will keep the title and somehow win the match. Charlotte and Sasha Banks. I think Sasha should win the match because we really haven't had her long title run yet. Charlotte's been the champion for a long time. And, she was a champion for almost close to a year, so she's really had the belt for a long time. So I think it's time for Sasha Banks really to take the belt and run with it, and be the top babyface. I don't know what you would do with Charlotte at the time. She could feud with some other people, but Sasha needs a long run. I don't know if this will lead to WrestleMania because what I was thinking at WrestleMania: Sasha Banks versus Bayley. You have Sasha Banks take on all these contenders in the next couple of months. I mean, she could feud with Nia Jax, all these like women on Raw, and she defeats them one at a time to the point when the last diva that she hasn't defeated yet is Bayley, and they want to and then they could have this big match. Again, it would be face versus face, But the thing is, you could put Charlotte back into it, where she's like, what corner? She's saying that she's gonna be in a corner of someone. Again, this was done before back in SummerSlam '92 with Ultimate Warrior and Macho Man Randy Savage, when Ric Flair was saying he was gonna be in somebody's corner during the match, and you had to say, well, whose corner is he gonna be in? So you could have this whole thing where Sasha's gonna join with, Charlotte is gonna be joining with someone, either Bayley or Sasha, and you don't know who it's gonna be. And then you could turn someone, probably Sasha or something, turn her heel, which I don't know. I mean, her character is more like it's more for a heel than a face, even though she's popular now. But then, WrestleMania, you could really launch Bailey. Roman Reigns against Rusev. I really don't care about this match that much because we've seen it so many times. And I don't know what direction they're going with Roman Reigns. I mean, a couple months ago, he was the champion. Now he's the United States champion. I don't know where they're going. I would say he's going to probably win. I'm not too sure. That's like a match where I'm not. They could go either way. Other matches on the card. What do we have? The New Day against Sheamus and Cesaro. I think the New Day will keep the titles. I don't think they're ready to take the titles off them. Cruiserweight champion T.J. Perkins against Brian Kendricks. I want Brian Kendrick to win, but I don't think they're going to take the title off T.J. Perkins because he's fresh, and I don't think they're going to do a title change so quick. The thing with the cruiserweights, I don't know why they have to change the ropes to purple. Does that take up time to do that every time you have a match? I don't know. I do like that Rich Swann guy. I like his entrance. So, what are the matches on that? I think that's the main. I think that's the main matches. On that in that pay-per-view tonight. And then we're gonna go on to the Survivor Series next month, and that should be a good pay-per-view with Goldberg and Lex Luger. What am I saying? And Brock Lesnar. That should be a really good pay-per-view, and you have the traditional Survivor Series matches. So that's it. I'm back with some more videos. Again, check out if you want Halloween Havoc 95 on the WWE Network. All right.